Welcome to Journey to Joy Live, a podcast to promote wellness, resilience, and inspire joy. Be empowered to balance your mental, physical, financial, aspirational, and social health while providing mental health awareness and breaking down the stigma of mental illness in the Black community. I'm your host, Dr. If Joy, and I'm here to help you transform life's challenges into opportunities for joy. Let's begin the journey together. Hello, everyone. We are in episode 159, just moving on up week after week, Thursdays at 7, Journey to Joy Live. And this episode is Your Inner Voice is Not Your Anxiety. Here's how to tell the difference. What does that even mean? Because a lot of times we are having certain thoughts and we don't know if we should act on it or not. Usually, if you have thoughts of anxiety are based on fear. Fear is based on false evidence appearing real. So that thing that makes you feel scared and you feel like, oh, well, I shouldn't do that thing because I'm scared. Should we really act on that? Probably not, because your anxiety is off something that's not even real, versus intuition, which is something you should act on because your intuition is usually telling you why you shouldn't do something and that there's a reason you shouldn't do something. Of course, anxiety is in place to alert your body when something bad is happening. When there's like a fire actually happening and you feel anxious, yeah, run away from the fire. Yeah. But we're talking about things that aren't necessarily in front of you, or how to interpret things based on if it's an anxiety. Should you ignore it and push through and be brave, versus your intuition and listen? So, I mean, I'm sure you've had thoughts like, don't apply for that job. Don't start that business. Don't have that conversation. Don't trust a person. And so anxiety is going to say like, I'm so scared. I don't want to do the job. But just because you're scared doesn't mean you shouldn't do it. But maybe intuition might be telling you don't do that job because it's just not a good job for you. It doesn't pay good. The people aren't respectful, or you won't be appreciative at the job. So it's a matter of like wondering, when you have certain thoughts, don't apply for that job, don't start that business, don't do that new thing, don't be ambitious. Is this my intuition trying to protect me against something where I shouldn't do that thing? Or is it my anxiety is just trying to keep me small? Because anxiety can keep you small. Imposter syndrome can keep you small. Depression can keep you small. And especially us mom bosses, and high achievers, overachievers, we're definitely always tackling thing after thing after thing. But there are times where you feel like, should I do this or not? Is this my anxiety? Because clearly anxiety can happen and get in the way as well. The problem is that anxiety is loud and urgent. Do it now, do it now, do it now, do it now. But intuition is usually quiet and clear cut. That quiet voice. Yeah, apply for that job. First, you got to do that now. You got to speak to that person now. Do it right now. And I'm like, whoa, okay. If I feel so anxious to do that thing now, why is it such a rush? So just going through different points here, like of how to tell the difference between your own intuition and your hidden anxiety or your loud anxiety. Anxiety sounds like fear. Anxiety is fear. So it sounds like fear because it is fear. And intuition sounds like wisdom. It's that quiet voice, that subtle voice, that non-rushing voice that says, do that thing or don't do that thing. Anxiety is like, what if everything goes wrong? What if I fail? What if they reject me? Anxiety is overthinking. It's all the what ifs. You're in your mind, like repeatedly over and over. You have racing thoughts, or race car brain, as one of my child patients says. And it's like racing and constant, and you can't even figure it out. It's like a highway. While, of course, intuition is just like saying, slow down, pay attention. Something feels off. Listen. It's that neighborhood stroll in the park. It's not the highway like anxiety. So if you really want to be able to distinguish between the two, obviously Anxiety is just looking to predict a catastrophe. It's predicting that something might go wrong, that something's bad gonna happen. And intuition is like a guidance thing. It's like a coach is saying, yeah, this is okay to do. Okay, we're gonna stop and look both ways. Okay, let's cross the street. And anxiety's like, cross the street now, do it now because there's a monster behind you. You're like, whoa, what's up with that? I mean, we've all had these kinds of anxious thoughts. And sometimes I get thoughts that are obviously anxious thoughts, and other times I get thoughts that aren't necessarily anxious, but they're just like an alternative to something that's reasonable. I remember I was in the car. I was in Miami. We were in Miami and we were watching at a restaurant. It was the 10 p.m. World Cup Colombian game. And my sister and I got too tired. We're like, okay, I think they went to overtime. That's what it was. They went past the 90-minute mark. I was like, I can't wait another 7 minutes. So we're like, we're going to go sleep in the car. It's like midnight at this point. And so my sister said, well, I'm going to use the bathroom. I was like, okay. So I was already in the car. So I'm like sitting there, I'm falling asleep. And then I'm like, I feel like too much time has gone by. Where is she? So I said, okay, she's just still in the bathroom. And another thought came to my head, or she got kidnapped. And I'm like, well, she could have got kidnapped. But then the other thought's like, but that doesn't make sense. But then I'm like, but she could have. So I sent her a message. She ended up coming out. She didn't get kidnapped. But like some of those thoughts can come like super high anxiety provoking. Oh, she got kidnapped. Something happened. And it's just like this. But like that's, you have to pay attention. And a lot of the patients that I see have anxiety, have racing thoughts, have constant worries that they can't control or excessive worries that they can't stop. And so if it's just constant, that is anxiety. Sometimes people feel like intuition is just like, I just can't get over it until I do that thing. Well, now you're talking about obsessive compulsive disorder because obsessive compulsive disorder is like this intrusive thought, it's unwanted, and you can't stop thinking about it until you do the thing. Is the thing is making you do a compulsion? Is the thing it's making you do something that's not even healthy or helpful? So just think of anxiety as this like urgency thing, this thing that's making you feel nervous. I mean, it's also for the most part not based in reality. Not to say you're psychotic, not in that sense, but it's just not, you can't find evidence behind it. Again, a lot of people say fear, FEAR, stands for false evidence appearing real. It's false evidence. The evidence is not there. Where's the evidence behind it? Find the evidence. And for intuition, you can, say like, well, intuition is kind of similar because that's why it's intuition. It's not really based on anything, but you should be able to find some growing evidence behind the reason why you should do that thing if it's an intuition. And again, it's slow. So ask yourself, is this voice warning me about a real danger or is it some imagined future? Again, there's the anxiety that is a disorder. And then there's that little bit of nervousness, that red flag fire alarm that needs to go off when there's something bad about to happen, because we get anxious for a reason. Our bodies are supposed to go off and tell us fight or flight, let's fight or let's flight. But when it is going off and there's nothing going on that's making you feel anxious, it's kind of like, oh, okay, that's a disorder. If it's a disaster movie in your head, that's probably the anxiety. Good, calm, wisdom, guidance, and intuition is not going to make a disaster go off in your head. So, number 2, anxiety creates that urgency, and intuition creates clarity. Anxiety is like, do it now, do it now, do it now, decide now, text them now, quit now. Whoa, panic now. Oh, if you quit now, you're not able to think before you act, think before you speak, think before you send that email, think before you send that text. But intuition is just like pause, observe, reflect. Should I send that email and quit my job because I didn't get a response or I didn't get the right response? Should I really do that? So a lot of this determining between intuition and anxiety has to do with emotional regulation, emotional intelligence as well. You've gotten this far, but are you always using your emotional regulation and thinking about what to do next. Is the anxiety overtaking you? You ever send a text message while you're anxious? How'd that work out? I've definitely done that. I've gotten emails where I got nervous about something because either I'm like misunderstood or I felt like they weren't going to do something that I requested or that, I needed to advocate for a patient, whatever it is, and it makes me feel anxious, or as an actual parent that's anxious, that makes me anxious because of the way they send me an email, a parent of a patient, or a patient who's anxious, and the way they send the email, that it makes me. Usually I'm able to control that. I'm like, okay, I'm feeling anxious. My intuition is not telling me to cuss out this patient. But if it's like a colleague, coworker, whoever, sometimes you might feel inclined to respond really quickly and then you realize, oh, maybe I shouldn't have said it that way. But if you pause, stop, reflect, and think before you act, and think before you send it, your intuition would tell you, no, maybe I shouldn't say it that way. So a lot of people wait 24 hours, 24-hour rule, right? If possible, don't make major decisions while you're emotionally activated. While that anxiety is like going off, don't act on that. Sleep on it. See if the message remains tomorrow. See if you still feel that way. Number 3, anxiety gets louder. Intuition gets clear. So the more time goes by, you haven't made that decision, anxiety is just like louder and louder and louder. Do this. The OCD, the obsessions, louder and louder, louder. The intrusive thoughts, louder, louder, louder until you do that thing. Anxiety just keeps repeating. You're overthinking. What ifs over and over and over. While intuition is just more often like arrives as a knowing, a nudge, kind of like a feeling of alignment where you're just like, I got this. There's a couple of burnout stories that I have where I had to decide anxiety versus intuition. When I was in my triple board residency program, I definitely had a lot of burnout, a lot of stress, a lot of anxiety. A lot happened around that time. I was very burnt out. I decided at that point that I liked psych more than I did pediatrics. Pediatrics was very hard, just mentally and physically. And, it was just my dream to go into the triple board. That would have been me being a pediatrician, adult psych, and a child psych. And so I said, how do I leave this program when I worked so hard to get my number one spot? Number one spot in 19, it was only 19 spots in the country, and I got my number one. How do I leave this program? And it really wasn't like this urgency, leave, leave, leave. It was just like this thought of, I missed the intuition all this time. The intuition, that's voice, had been telling me for years, don't apply for triple board. Leave the triple board. I had a small voice tell me, you don't need to do this. I had people tell me, you don't need to do this. Why are you doing all that? So it was the burnout that led me to kind of sit back and realize, no, this isn't for me. So it was one of the hardest decisions I made to leave that program, but it was the best decision. So just sitting and reflecting, obviously if you're spiritual, you're Christian, praying about it, fasting about it, reading the Bible, devotions, all those things. But you don't have to be someone who believes in a higher power to have intuition. Sit with yourself, reflect. Get my journal. Oh, this is a good segue into that. The Enjoyno, Nurturing Authentic Living. It's a therapeutic journal with hundreds of positive affirmations and self-care tips and therapeutic worksheets. And of course, it helps you balance your mental, physical, financial, aspirational, and social health. So that aspirational falls into what I'm talking about. You feeling and learning and getting intuition on what you value. What's your life mission? What's your purpose? Are you getting lost in all these roles that you have? You don't really know what your mission is, what your purpose is, what your calling and what your vision is anymore. So being able to reflect, again, whether you are a believer of God or not, being able to sit and be quiet and find what is that intuitive voice telling you versus what is the anxious voice. You can get that from the Enjoyno. It's $35 on my website, drenjoylife.com. And of course, you can get that as a joy bundle with the Inspire Joy for the Wife, Mom, Boss, balancing it all without losing yourself. You can get those together for $45, drenjoylife.com. And so don't limit yourself. Why not? Right? Why not? So thinking about the urgency of anxiety and the gentle giants of intuition, that is how you know the difference. Anxiety is just like, what if I made a mistake? Repeat it 50 times. While intuition is like, this isn't right. It says it once, and it's clear, and it's simple. If I removed fear from the equation, what would I know? Like anxiety adds that whole fear factor. So if you kind of take away the fear part, what is still left? I did have fear of leaving the triple board residency program. So when I took that out, what was left was the clarity of burnout. This is making things worse for me to remain in this program. I probably won't pass the PEDS board because I'm just not compassionate about that field anymore. I still have 18 months of pediatrics, so I still use that in my brain from day to day. But did I really need to finish that program just to say I was triple boarded? I'm still double boarded, so I can still say that. Point number 4, anxiety shrinks your life. Intuition protects your peace. I think that's the biggest distinction between the two, because anxiety often says, stay home, don't leave, stay small, don't try, don't risk, stay. You're comfortable. Why are you leaving that job? You're comfortable. Why are you going to start the business? You're comfortable. Why are you going to climb the ladder? You are comfortable. Anxiety shrinks your life. Intuition simply protects your peace by allowing you to grow bigger, climb the ladder, get that job, start the business, be ambitious. It protects your peace by protecting your boundaries, because you should do those things, but still have boundaries. Leaving unhealthy situations. Let's talk about the person in the domestic violent relationship. Anxiety says, stay, you're comfortable. He abuses you, but you're comfortable. Don't leave. You cannot pay for things on your own. You don't even have a job. Anxiety, fear of leaving. Intuition says, you don't deserve this. You have self-worth, self-respect, self-love, self-compassion, self-grace, self. Leave. Leave that unhealthy situation. Slow down, choose alignment with what your values are, what your life mission is. Does this thought move me toward growth or toward ambition and avoidance? So if it was an anxious thought, it would move you towards avoidance. If it's an intuitive thought, it should move you towards growth. Growth often feels uncomfortable. Do you remember when you were a kid and you had growing pains? I definitely had growing pains. I was growing and it felt uncomfortable. Every time I do the boot camp with Jess Sim 60 or Thunder 45 with Adrian on Peloton. No, they don't pay me, but I want to give them a shout out anyway. That feels uncomfortable doing all that because I'm growing. My muscles are growing. I'm getting stronger. Growth feels uncomfortable. And of course, avoidance temporarily feels uncomfortable. Avoidance feels comfortable, right? Because you're going to avoid that thing just so you can be comfortable. I just feel good right here. I'm not going to do that thing. So don't put yourself in a trap. Whether you're a wife, mom, boss or not, don't enter into that wife, mom, boss trap. Many women mistake burnout for intuition. Like, I'm too tired to go after that dream, so I'm just not going to go after that dream. Since I'm so tired, I feel like my intuition is telling me not to do that thing because this is a lot of work, so I'm not going to do it. I'm too overwhelmed to ask for help. So I'm just not going to ask for help. I'm too busy to prioritize myself. So I'm just not going to prioritize myself. That's not intuition. That's exhaustion talking. I mean, if we throw exhaustion in the equation, let's use that for a reason to know that things do need to change. If anything, the intuition behind the exhaustion is telling you that things do need to change. And you still can go after that dream, even though something's making you tired. It's just that things need to change. You need to do less of something, some type of time management. Or maybe it's just simply prioritizing yourself, putting yourself back on a priority list, getting some self-care in so that you are recharged. Because there's something you're doing too much of that's making you so exhausted. Some of those things you have to do, and some of those things you really don't have to do, and you can delegate and somebody else can do it. So the next time you have a fearful thought, just ask, is the voice urgent, like anxiety, or clear, like intuition? Is it protecting me, like intuition would? Or is it limiting me, like anxiety would? Is it based on evidence, like intuition, or based on fear, like anxiety? Your inner voice was designed to guide you. Anxiety was designed to protect you and stop you from doing things based on something that's fearful. So if the evidence shows that there's a real fear reaction, sure. The goal isn't to eliminate the anxiety, it's to stop letting it be the loudest voice in the room. And if you're someone who's actually hearing voices, this is the psychiatrist out of me now. If you're actually someone who's hearing voices that you realize others can't hear, it sounds like an actual voice that's talking to you outside of your head and others can't hear it, see a psychiatrist, not just a therapist. Because usually if you're hearing a voice that's scaring you, making you feel distressed, alarmed, affecting sleep, affecting work, social occupational impairment, that does require medication. Now, if you're hearing voices and it doesn't affect your sleep, it doesn't affect your relationships, it's not affecting your occupation or what you do and not making you feel scared or distressed, and it's not that often, you don't need a medication, but still come see me and let's talk about it. Let's see what's going on. Just had to add that side note in since we're talking about your inner voice. Your inner voice might actually be a hallucination, which is a psychosis thing. Your inner voice could be an intrusive thought, which is an obsessive compulsive disorder thing. Or your inner voice could just be your inner voice. So try to depict whether your inner voice is turning into some anxiety versus your inner voice being intuition. Hope this was helpful. Give me feedback, comment, like, subscribe. Go to my YouTube. Let's blow this up. Journey to Joy Live has been going strong for 3 years. Why do I only have 1,100 subscribers? It's because you listen and you don't like. You listen and you don't subscribe. You listen and you don't follow. Do it. Share. You are getting something out of this. So if you're getting something out of it, somebody else can too. So let's do that. Let's share the joy and let everybody know they can choose joy despite trauma, despite challenges, despite burnout, despite stress, despite depression and anxiety, all these things out here. I'm here to show that you can practice joy despite lifing. So share with at least 5 people so we can get this joy journey going. Thank you for listening. This has been an Enjoy Life production. If you're in a crisis, don't hesitate. Call, text, or chat 988 for immediate support. Please note, this podcast is for informational purposes only and is not a substitute for professional treatment. If you're looking for therapy or medication management through Enjoy Life, visit www.drenjoylife.com to request a consultation. I'm licensed in 13 states. I accept Aetna in Georgia, Florida, and Virginia. Be sure to grab your copy of the Enjoy Note to help you on your wellness journey. Also check out Inspire Joy for the wife, mom, boss to help you balance it all without losing yourself. Better yet, get the full Joy bundle for just $45. Remember, Journey to Joy Live is every Thursday at 7 p.m. Thank you for joining me, and until next time, may you continue to transform stress into joy.